Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Utah Down Ballot podcast. I'm here with Aaron Bolin and Kim Coleman. Do you guys want to say hello?
Hello.
Hi.
All right. I am wearing my Real Salt Lake soccer jersey because I felt like it today. And I don't know why I shared that. I guess because I felt like it today. Let's dive right in, especially since I'm kind of on a short timeline here. But there's a lot coming up this week, and I still want to go back and kind of talk through some of the stuff that went on in the legislative session and discuss, some of the other things that came out of that, regarding what got signed by the governor and what some of the fallout was from some of that other stuff. But I think we would be better served, considering that we have conventions coming up this month, to dive right in and talk about that. And we kind of discussed this beforehand. So as we go into these conventions, I have to say that when I started this process, I kind of got thrown into the deep end. I was a new precinct chair. I went to the conventions. I had no idea what I was in for. So if people are showing up to the conventions, we didn't have a caucus, so the people should have been to at least one of these by now, right? But what is your approach? Like when you go to a state convention or a county convention, what do you do to get ready for it? Because I just kind of showed up and did the
first work. You're burying the lead on this.
Okay.
Because I'm the convention chair this year.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I'm actually planning the whole thing, and so I might have some extra opinions on some of this.
Yes, please.
But I have an amazing committee that has a shared vision to, if you have GOP convention PTSD, we're the cure. We're bringing you the convention cure for this. And there's an expression my family has for me. They say, when it comes to mom, anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. And I am staying true to that. And we are planning a convention that, it may be a low bar for some people, but we hope people leave and say, okay, well, so that wasn't awful. No, that's not our bar. That's an easy bar. That's the low bar, right?
That's usually my reaction. It's
that's the low bar. So, but the high bar is that people, it's business,
Mm-hmm.
No matter how good we can make things, it's still business. There's some dry parts. So we'd like people to say that was awesome, but but if they walk away and say, okay, that was important, that was worth my time, and better than ever, then we'll be happy.
I have to say though that honestly, like the ones that really gave me the PTSD were the nominating conventions, because the emotions were high. People were angry about whatever issues, concerned about the candidates that were going to go represent us. The organizing conventions, yeah, there's some of that, but it seemed to be less that way. It was usually I experienced some drama because of some person that we're just not going to vote for this time. And so whenever that person stood up, you could see the people that didn't like him because they had some negative experience kind of straighten their back and go, ugh.
Well, that is kind of the challenge, though, because the nominating convention is a little bit sexier than the organizing convention.
Yes.
And so to choose this convention to put the anything worth doing is worth doing the excess credo behind the organizing convention.
The flair. You're adding the flair, the pizzazz.
We're adding the flair. And I want to say this, so my husband built two beautiful schools for the Utah Schools for Deaf and Blind, and they're amazing. I mean, they are. You walk through these, they're just the most beautiful schools. And he told his architect, he said, I might have a problem with this because people are going to say, look at these buildings. You're building Taj Mahals and you're wasting taxpayer dollars and whatever. But the architect said, you know what, Joel, it costs as much to build a beautiful building as it does to build an ugly one. So I want people to know at the outset too, that we're trying to build a more beautiful convention on the same budget as some not so beautiful. And so that's the experience we want people to have. And we think that that's important coming out of COVID. This is really the first time we're coming together. And that has so much more importance than it ever did, ever did. And not just that we miss seeing each other's faces, but we have seen in very real examples that there are people that want us to stay in a corner. They don't want to hear our voice, so they'll scrub it from the internet. They don't want to hear our voices, so they remove us from public. And so more than ever, this in-person convention is very important.
Right. And just speaking to that for a minute with the COVID, we're kind of right on the edge of getting rid of the mask mandate and things like that. So, and I know some people are still concerned over having in-person events, but it looks like the state party and some of the county parties are looking at having in-person events. Is there going to be a virtual option, or is it, show up or you're out of luck? I mean, how does that work?
So we've never had a virtual convention in Utah ever. And so I think we kind of have a semantics problem, because I've heard people say, well, I like the virtual convention we had last year. Can't we just do that again? Well, that wasn't a convention. And what we did was we triaged, took the statutory elements of nominating people to big ballots, and we facilitated those in a virtual way. But we ditched, the bulk of stuff that is required of the convention to work on, to decide in how we drive the party, how the party operates. So this year, we're going to do all the business that is required of delegates. We have 4,000 people that raised their hands, and a couple years ago and said, I want to have a role in deciding how our party functions and deciding how we or who we nominate to be officers of the party, as well as our candidates. Last year, the governing body of the state Republican Party gave a one-time exemption to just do that, but only in the event that we were restricted from meeting together. So none of those things exist this year. We don't have a restriction on gathering. We don't have a permission, so to speak, from the governing body. So we have to have our convention, and we're excited to have it again. And we missed a lot last year, so we've got some catch up to do. It's not always exciting to talk about rules and bylaws, and if you serve on your HOA board and you only care about swimming pools, and when you open the swimming pool, you still have to sit through budget meetings and talking about security codes. So you kind of get the stuff you're interested in, the stuff you're not as interested in when you serve as a delegate. But we're going to try to make it as painless as possible, and better than that, we're going to make it fun.
Yeah. And let me just back Kim up on this a little. We really haven't addressed bylaw amendments, which means rules that govern the party and how it functions, or constitution amendments or platform amendments in a long while. In 2018, I think we adjourned before we did any business. Same thing happened in 2019. In 2020, as Kim said, for the virtual nomination vote, we were unable to have a discussion on rule changes and facilitate that discussion and have a yay or a nay vote on those. And how does that impact people who aren't party delegates or candidates? Well, it actually can it can change how convention functions and how the convention nominee gets chosen. It can change basically how who we end up nominating to a certain degree. It can change what is or is not in our party platform. And we don't do platform amendments in odd years like 2021, but we were unable to do it in 2020. And so that pushes any platform amendments from being able to occur since 2016. So our platform has been the same, for better or for worse, since 2016, and none of those things have been able to be discussed.
So
Yeah,
you just said, I mean, you just said words that might make people go to sleep. You're talking about bylaws, rules, platform.
The
I'm
platform
out,
should
man.
apply.
I'm
Platform should
out.
apply to everyone, because it kind of helps them determine
Okay,
whether or not they agree with the Republican Party, if they should vote for us or not.
okay.
yeah,
So
and
back
I was going to
way
zoom
up.
out too. Yeah.
Yeah, zoom out. Aaron Bolin or Charles, what is a platform?
So this is the thing that I was going to jump in with, is that what we're talking about is we were talking about who we are. Who are we, right? What does it mean to be a Republican? What do we stand for, right? That's what the platform is. And so when we get together, it's not just about, hey, we're going to do all this business. It's our chance to get together with other delegates and say, this is who we are. And if you think about all the stuff that we've been through over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, going through the Trump presidency and all of the garbage that he went through, or going through the Trump presidency and all the stuff he did, depending on how you see him, right? All of the other things that we've had to think about, how you feel about Mitt Romney and all of the stuff that he does, right? How does that align with who we are? And if we're not talking about that, we're not talking about who we are, what we stand for, what we believe in, and these kinds of things. I mean, that's the core of all of it, right? And that's what we're going there for, is to do that and then talk about how we get that stuff done.
So I'm going to use a colloquialism, a colloquialism. It's the Articles of Faith of the Republican Party.
Yeah,
if you're
that's a good way
familiar
to
with
put
that
it.
reference. But there are people that sometimes they're not sure what Republicans stand for. We throw this word around, rhino, Republicans in name only, and then you have a whole lot of people that they don't understand the value of the parties. They think the parties, either don't have good value, or they've been a part of messing things up, and I wouldn't disagree with that.
Or their only knowledge.
I agree with those people.
Their only knowledge might be what they hear about what Republicans are doing at the national level. And we actually have a different Republican Party platform, a list of our principles on the national level, than we do on the state level and on the individual county level in Utah. And the platform on the national level is like a good 60 pages long.
Are you sure? Because I think the state party platform is ridiculously long.
No, state party platform is 3 pages. It is succinct. In fact, we're actually maybe missing some stuff in there, but that's a discussion we can have at convention. But the national party platform is very long, and quite honestly, it's beautiful. Many parts of it are absolutely fantastic. Some parts of it not everyone's going to agree with, and it depends on how things are worded. If somebody reads something and one of our platform planks is family values, and it says we recognize the traditional family as the fundamental unit of society, people might think, well, what does that mean? What is is that something I completely agree with? Maybe I think I would feel more comfortable if that was worded in a different way. Or how it talks about education. We believe that parents are primarily responsible for the education of their children, and not the state. And we actually passed a resolution during the legislature that says that we believe that parents are primarily responsible. And all the Democrats voted against that because they don't actually believe that. That is a fundamental difference between the platforms of our party. They believe that the state is responsible for the education of the children and not the parents.
So I would just encourage anybody to go, if you're questioning, or if in our caucus meetings that are supposed to occur every 2 years, but coronavirus wiped that out last year. We read the platform. That's part of the caucus meeting, is reading that platform and kind of reaffirming what it is that that those values, principles that would come around. to this convention for. So I would encourage anybody to just go Google it, go read it freshly. What does it mean to be a Republican? And sometimes, like you said, Aaron, sometimes there can be some left for interpretation, but it's the anchors of what we believe. And fundamentally, it is those core values of basic constitutional rights, God-given rights that are recognized in our Constitution, and good governance. Just how do we govern this country best? And it's still the best government. It's or some say the worst government to ever exist, but except for everything else.
Yeah.
So we have this convention, and we come back around, and we remember the things that bring us together, the things that we do agree with. And this is sometimes where we apply the Ronald Reagan 80% principle, that if we're all about 80% in agreement, then we're friends. A convention is a time really to feel that, display that, honor that. Not all the 20% we disagree with are equally weighted, though, I'll just say.
Yeah,
it's true. But at the same time, I mean, there is still plenty of common ground, right? It's just,
Definitely.
yeah, some of that 20% is more deeply held than others.
So another good purpose of a party platform, a list of principles, is you can actually, hold your elected officials, accountable to that. If they were elected under the pretense that they believed in those things, and they are not voting in accordance with that, or they're not representing themselves in a way that fits, within the platform, whether Democrat or Republican or whatever that you voted for them based on, it's a document to hold up and say, hey, you promised, and you're not doing a good enough job. And it helps us, common folk, have a little bit more leverage and power with our elected officials.
It serves as standards.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For performance in the office.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole point.
So enough about something we won't even vote on. We're not voting on the platform in this convention, only in the nominating conventions. This convention,
yes,
we will vote on. Yeah,
it's the layer that's going to be underneath all the other things that we're voting on, whether it's Constitution, whether it's bylaws, whether it's party leaders. I mean, this underscores all of it. And so that's why it's important to talk about here, even though we're not voting on platform changes.
And quite honestly, it plays a big role in who we decide to lead our party as the party chair. So those are the officers that we are going to be voting on at the state level, and at the county levels is what's called a party chair, party vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. Right? They do the business of the party, and you can add in your 2 cents here as well, Kim. But basically, I feel like the chair serves many functions. They serve as the face of the party, someone to give statements to the media when statements need to be made, and someone to help elect Republicans all across the state. So you do that in a number of ways. You raise funds, because communicating with people during campaigns cost money. So you have to fundraise. And there's different, theologies on how one should do fundraising. Should you just take it from everyone, or should you just take it from Republicans or people who are not going to influence you to do things that the Republican Party shouldn't? They also help the individual campaigns during campaign season know what they need to do to contact their constituents and get the Republican vote out, so that we can elect people who believe in the party platform that will give us good governance.
So, most fundamentally, they're the CEO of a very, very large, tangible and intangible organization. And there is a governing body that kind of is, I think it's the closest thing to having a board and even a little bit of separation of powers maybe there. So right now our current chair is Derek Brown. And he's got some things where he has his discretion, but then there is a governing body called the Central Committee that functions like a board, helps approve budgets, helps, make some decisions on things, creates a lot of the rules for how he performs, what he can do. But yeah, so, I have to be careful as the chair of the committee to be neutral on the candidates, but what is required in this job is some CEO capacity. You have to know how to run a large organization, how to make sure there are revenues there that keep those engines running. And then, yeah, you're the face, you're the PR piece of this. So, are you capable of representing, promoting, and defending our values? And can you do what needs to be done on fundraising? Like you said, there's different ways of fundraising. Probably all of the above is what we need, or maybe some more of some and not as much as the other lobbyists. And so it's not your high school student body office that people are running for. It's kind of a big deal, and you have to know some laws about nonprofit organizations, including things like non-discrimination law and harassment laws governing your people in your organization. And if that's not a segue, I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say, Kim, what do you know about how harassment could enter into the discussion?
Or anyone who might have read
environments? And yeah, just because you're not paid as the chair doesn't mean that you are not responsible, obligated, and liable for laws regarding employment, which includes volunteers in the workplace of your organization. So yeah,
that's interesting to note really quick that our state chair and all of our county chairs, everyone's volunteer.
Yep.
So people try really hard to get elected to this job that's going to take a bunch of time and cost a lot of money, just so they can not make any money.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me, though, and I think Kim highlighted this really well, is that a lot of these folks then they'll do something that is out of line, and then I'll hear somebody say, "Oh, but they're just a volunteer." Well, that does not absolve them of the responsibility to do their job in the proper way and do it well, right? And those are not necessarily the same thing, right? It is not an excuse for it not to happen. It is not an excuse for anybody, precinct chair, delegate, all the way up and down the chain. You committed.
Well, I think that, recent events, and I'd like to just, not go too deep on it, but recent events, I think, have been a little bit of a wake-up call for county parties and the state party to make sure that that there are appropriate policies in place. And it's just a reminder, because sometimes that's not always institutional, that gets passed on from one leader to the next leader. And sometimes, there's assumptions that things are in place and they're not. So a little bit of a wake-up call to everybody to make sure that it is very well understood that even volunteers, that leadership is responsible, obligated to, and can be liable for misconduct in the workplace, even if that workplace is a volunteer arena. So I think now, probably all I'm comfortable talking.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair, because you're a lot closer to this, but I do want to just call this out. Yeah, I'm going to say names, okay? If that bothers anybody, get over it, right? Because I'm sure people at this point, if they haven't heard about this, now they're going, okay, what are you talking about? So there is a candidate for state party chair, Scott Miller, who was, up until a week or so ago, the chair of the Salt Lake County Republican Party. And he resigned. And the reason he resigned was because there was an article that came out in the Salt Lake Tribune that outlined how one of his volunteers, and you guys correct me if I get any of this wrong, one of his volunteers had been making inappropriate comments to some of the candidates, some of the female candidates who were running for office within the some of it was, national, some of it was state, and some of it was county level, like at all different levels. He said inappropriate things, he did inappropriate things, and what Scott did is he did not give these women an opportunity to have their complaints taken seriously, right? They'd come to him and they said, hey, there's this problem, and he didn't do anything about it. And then when it became clear that it was coming out, he wrote a letter to all of the county delegates explaining how it was a smear job, instead of actually taking responsibility for the situation ahead of time. And so that's what we're talking about, is that this kind of conduct is not okay at the county level nor at the state level. And so in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for any other Republicans, but in my opinion, that clearly disqualifies Scott Miller to run or to be elected as Utah Republican Party chair. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I just want to maintain that that's your opinion. There's nothing that
my opinion.
Yeah, legally disqualifies him from running. But
no, I agree.
To kind of put a fine point on the volunteer you're talking about, he was put out as a director of the organization. So
director of communications.
So not right. Only, I mean, it's irrelevant that he was a volunteer. He was a director, or at least assumed, or it was presented that he was performing as a director of the organization. So absolutely, very clear that all these things are, they do pertain to that performance there. And that there has to be an appropriate way for people to come forward and talk about concerns in the workplace. It's not sufficient to, you have to, I hate to use the phrase, but it is the appropriate phrase. There has to be a safe place for people who feel like they've been wronged, harassed, discriminated against. In a traditional or in a more traditional workplace, HR, you go to human resources, and you say, I think something wrong may have happened. And then there's a process, and there's a level of confidentiality that happens in kind of that early reporting stage. And that's important for both the person bringing the complaint and the person that's being complained about. You want those things to have some level of sensitivity, confidentiality. Right. And I think that was more the problem with what happened with Salt Lake County, is that opportunity was not presented, and there was no guarantee of a process, much less a confidential process. And so it was just kind of lost all the way around. So then when you have the CEO then do a preemptive hit on 7 people that where that CEO knew that this was forthcoming, but instead did a preemptive hit to, I guess, to inoculate people against, the report that was about to come out. My goodness, there is not a company on planet Earth that would let you keep working. Boy, you do that and not let things run an appropriate course. So it was, I'll tell you, the controversy was less about the actual accusations and more about how it was handled and how the response happened. The criticism really was about that email going not just to delegates, it went to the 4 corners of the state.
Oh, yeah.
And it just went everywhere. I was one, I was paragraph number 6, I think, discrediting me, trying to ascribe motives to why, I could be so mean. So, very mishandled.
The fact of the matter is it just wasn't handled right. Things were made aware to the chair that were not taken seriously and were not handled. And they weren't about him specifically. They were about somebody else that could be replaced, that could be, punished or disciplined. And that process could have been discussed with the people making the complaints, and it wasn't at all.
Yeah.
And no one wanted it to get to the point that it did, but people wanted this handled. I mean, Dave should have been removed from his position immediately and disassociated with, and he wasn't. And it's not only that nothing was done, but then, as you said, the retaliation, the defense, the defense of the actions, that was inexcusable. So,
well, I just want to put on the record, I don't have any big donors giving me anything. For sure, but I didn't even before when I was in.
Well, and let me just say that the things that did happen to the people who came forward, and even a lot of people who didn't come forward, for various reasons, they're inexcusable. They made me personally upset. Things that were said and done to Kim, I consider Kim a really close friend, made me feel really, really upset.
Well, names.
Well, yeah, I
had some of them came out in the paper, but I'm not going to share them here. But they're absolutely offensive and cringeworthy. But
yeah, just I hope I never see this individual. At least not soon.
Yeah. But I mean, we do have to, regarding that this is a candidate. Again, I'm the chair. We will absolutely, everybody has a fair, equal playing field in running for these seats with our state party.
Yep. So,
absolutely.
Like I said, my opinion, right?
And my personal opinion, not casting anything on anyone else.
Yeah. But I also just, I mean, I want to say that there were so many things that could have been done better there and weren't, right? And
once again, why party elections are important, electing somebody ethical and competent, and hopefully that shares your values, is going to steer the party in the direction that you want it to be steered. So
I'm excited though. I mean, so this has been kind of a heavy topic, but change of guard is always a great new opportunity. And Derek Brown has done an amazing job during absolutely challenging circumstances. And I gotta imagine he's tired, but
yeah, he got way more than he bargained for, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, many people begged him to run again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll just say, I was one of them, and he has very good reasons. I feel like if he could, with his situation, he would. But anyway, I think Derek was a great guy, and not everyone's gonna like me saying that, but he was a good party chair. I think he united different schools of thought within the party and gave us all a fair shake, and I think that's all anyone really wants.
Now I am running up on my time limit. I've got about 20 minutes before I absolutely must walk out the door. I mean, I can keep this call rolling and you guys can keep talking.
Oh, so we did briefly discuss Central Committee, and I did want to say, when you first say that to people, they think it's like some underground organization that runs the Russian government. The
first rule of Central Committee.
The Central
Don't talk about Central Committee.
The Central Committee.
Or it sounds like some people that came up with a name to sound self-important, and it could be a little bit of both of these.
We're central. We are essential. I don't know what else to call it. It's always been the Central Committee. I mean, the Democrat Party has a Central Committee too. But yeah, I'm on the State Central Committee, and we're the governing body of the party. So Obviously, the chair does have a lot of direction and sway, but when decisions need to be made, such as, are we going to allow an emergency virtual convention? Like, we do need to vote on that.
It's not a king. The chair's not a king. He is
Right.
governed.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is all set up in the bylaws of the party. So it's not a secret how it runs or anything like that.
Yeah, anyone can read about it, and our meetings are public and they're streamed, and mostly people don't watch them because they think they're boring, which
Yes,
is
they are.
because hey, fair enough.
Fair.
I think it's really exciting.
I like it. You and I are like these. I mean, we are political nerds, right? And
oh yeah.
Yep. On the political nerddom. But so seriously, if you want to run for the state central committee political nerd, that's you. Welcome to that party. But those elections.
We should hand out t-shirts.
Those elections are happening right now. So every county is also having their county conventions where they're given a certain number of central committee members that they get to elect. So if your county, if you care about that, look up your county website if they have one, or Facebook page, and look at who the candidates are. Some of the conventions have already happened, but some are still ongoing. And, these are population-based allotted generally. So, a lot of them in Salt Lake County, a lot in Utah County, Davis, but throughout all the state. So, yeah, this is a time to run. And it's a time to, tell your delegate who to vote for.
And, I talked to a lot of people on kind of both sides. It's very funny. There was a lot of opinions on whether or not the party should censure Romney. And that would have been a state central committee, vote. I had many people contact me and say, hey, you guys need to have an emergency meeting and censure Romney. And, I had a couple people say, hey, we shouldn't be censuring for this specifically, only should censure for ethics violations, what have you. And so, the state central committee makes those decisions, and someone said, well, what is that and how do I get on it? And so I had a few of the people who contacted me now running for state central committee, and good for them. If they think all we do is censure politicians we don't like, that's not exactly the name of the game, but it is something we can do. We can pass resolutions in favor of legislation, or passing certain legislation, or against it. We can say as a body whatever we feel we need to. But something near and dear to my heart is like how we run caucus night, where we elect delegates, and how do we make that better and more fun, kind of like Kim's trying to make convention, and more accessible to the general population, so they don't have these questions about what is a delegate, what is central committee. And that's why I'm running yet again for state central committee. Also, because the last year, all of our state central committee meetings were bogus because of COVID, and we couldn't, vote on anything or do anything.
I'm also running too, so vote for Kim.
I also I officially endorse Kim Coleman in Salt Lake County for state central committee.
And I endorse Aaron Bolin for everything. Can we just have the
implicit endorsement?
No, you're the party. You're the convention chair. You can't be.
Well, no, because that's an election.
That's a county.
Oh, that's county. That's county. So you can,
endorse Aaron Bolin.
Thank you. But so
you're a political nerd, and you even actually want to do this. Like, there's some people who run because they want to be in the defensive mode. Like, they want to be on that committee because of what they don't want to happen on the central committee.
There's certainly things I don't want to happen. There's things I don't want to happen, but there's things I do want to happen. There's a lot of people that are becoming active politically, and they ask me, well, how can I make a difference? How can I help Republicans get elected, or how can I help better Republicans get elected? They know that I personally don't always agree with every Republican in the state. And I say, hey, you should contact your delegates, but there's nowhere that's easy for them to go to find their delegates. I know the people to ask for the lists, and then they get back to me in like 3 days. We got to be better. We got to do better. And so that's something I want to improve I'll go to the meeting and make a motion and, be all legislative and pretend like I matter. But anyway.
Yeah, and by the way, it's 4 days a year. It's once a quarter.
It's one. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Four times a year, but those are epic. Those are epic Saturdays.
I was going to say, it's not that much time until Saturday morning comes. But anyway, I'm grateful for the people who are willing to give those 4 Saturdays.
I bring a cooler full of caffeine every single time I come and pass it around. Okay, so next, I think we've covered a lot of this stuff. Mask mandates.
I one other thing I want to jump in on real quick because
okay, sorry.
So that is, I mean, we do have these candidates. We have candidates for the Utah Republican Party here in Utah County. I think we had one candidate run for each of the leadership positions. So
yeah,
our election is over and the convention has not started.
And they're actually good. They're just fine.
Yeah,
I like
they're all
of them.
people I know, and I'm like, I can live with that.
I would have voted for them anyway.
Yes. So one thing that I want to dive in on is just, so when you show up to the convention, and I like your input on this too, Kim, as much as you can give it and still stay neutral. But when you start getting ready to show up, because I'm gonna have to vote on one of these people for party chair, party vice chair, party secretary, and looks like treasurer. There's only one dude, so he's in. So some of these people I know, some of them I don't, especially with COVID. Like, they used to do the meet and greets, and those are just hard to make happen. So what kinds of things do I need to do now to prep for the state convention or the county convention if I'm going to be going to one and voting for somebody? And what should I expect when I show up to the convention, and what should I be bringing to be prepared?
Okay, so Aaron, you want to cover the before, and I'll cover convention.
Yeah, because you are the convention queen. So before convention, you want to vet candidates. That's our lingo. Yes. That's what we say. You want to vet the candidates if it's a contested election. I think there's 5 candidates running for chair. And you want to either reach out and call them yourself, or you want to go to their website if they have one. If there is meet and greets that are put together by the party or any other entity, you want to go to every single one you can. First time I was elected as a delegate, I went to 7 meet and greets for county candidates before the county convention. It was an amazing 4 weeks. I was very busy. Same thing for counties. We're not going to have, I don't think, meet and greets for Utah County, but like for State Central Committee, like I'm a candidate, I'm going to send out, at least an email, if not 2. I'm going to try to call the people in my district to get them to vote for me. As a delegate, you want to get as much information as possible in order to make a good decision on who to vote for. You can ask other delegates that might know better. You can ask your legislative district chair and different people at different levels of the organization. You can ask Kim Coleman because she knows everything. But
I can't say because I got to be neutral.
Oh yeah, correct. She actually can't tell you this year, but you can ask her husband, who's not the convention chair. Who's also running. No, he's not running for SEC this year, is he? Okay, bummer. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I would do prior to convention. If it's a virtual, county's going to be virtual, so we need to make sure that we have, if it's an app that we're voting with, that everything is functioning. You want to check it a few days beforehand, so it's not the day of and you're trying to contact the help desk to be able to vote. We won't have that problem with state convention. But yeah, just know who you're going to vote for before you go. They're still going to give speeches, but do the research, put in the time. Try to put in, a few dozen hours of research.
Most of this is going to come to you. And as a delegate, you are the voter, and the candidates are looking for you to earn your vote. Part of that is I in my opinion, can they get to you? Do they have the savvy to get to you? Do they have, some funds to get to you? If they can't influence the 4,000 delegates, or at least half of that, to win a vote, then that might reflect on how they can influence our party among 3.5 million people. So it should come to you fairly easily, but the world of social media, it's easy to find these candidates. But the convention is going to start at 10 o'clock, but at 8 o'clock, people can enter the arena and meet the candidates there. So they will have booths set up. They will be actively campaigning. You can go and talk to them at that point too. And I would suggest this convention, we've got some opportunities for non-delegates to participate. So if you still want to come and you want to meet candidates and go through the exhibits and all the booths that we have, and then text your delegate and say who you want them to vote for. That delegate is still your representative. And you should let them know. If you're not a delegate, you should let your delegates know if you have an opinion and what you want them to be looking for.
So there will be vendor booths, and I'll be at one of those for my nonprofit, and so there'll be plenty to explore, even if you just want to come for 30 minutes to an hour and not stick around for speeches and votes. I mean, that's your prerogative to check things out. You're just not going to be able to vote, but you will be able to bug the heck out of whoever your delegates are if you want to tell them if you have an opinion. So.
Plus, we have a golf tournament Friday.
Oh yeah, and the morning of, isn't there like a sunrise prayer or something?
We've never done this before, but we're going to have a sunrise. We're calling it Morning in America, sunrise devotional, kind of a non-denominational devotional. So come and commune, invite the Spirit, invite however you worship, and we're going to invite deity to be a part of this, the Spirit, for me, Jesus Christ. And but a non-denominational, we're going to have a little bit of a combo band, pulling out some real sort of traditional songs, faith songs. So I think it'll be nice. We have Carl Wimmer is going to lead that, and some people may remember him as a former legislator and a great Republican conservative in our community. And he's I don't want to misspeak, I'm not sure his title, but he has gone professionally into the ministry. And so he's going to come back and join us on Saturday morning.
That sounds awesome. That
sounds
is
amazing.
really exciting for me. And you can get really eclectic with the gospel music nowadays, because Justin Bieber released a gospel album on Sunday.
Well,
so like pop, R&B, rap, also now a gospel genre.
We got
Okay, but I have the most important question. Has there always been a golf tournament? Because I feel like I missed out.
Nope.
They're shaking their heads at me. Okay.
Only when Kim is the chair. Fun things only happen with Kim Coleman.
Remember, I started this with anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. So, Derek said, hey, can you plan the convention? Okay. And a golf tournament and a scavenger hunt and a convention dinner and a sunrise devotional. There you go.
Awesome.
That's my excess.
So am I supposed to come golf to excess? In other words, show up in like Dickie shorts and
so I understand in golf you want less excess. The idea is a lower score, hitting less balls.
No, I'm just saying I come in plaid shorts and a wooden button shirt. I don't know.
But we will have candidates on the green too, so that's another opportunity to run into.
Oh, I have to go head to head with Stuart. Forget it.
I want to be part of Charles's foursome if we're going to do the golf tournament, because I don't golf and I just want to.
I would do that. I'm not that good. I have a set of clubs you can borrow too. I have two sets.
Well,
all right.
Making it different. So if we can, push this out to people, let them know. We'll let them know all the opportunities as well as,
Yep.
happening in your own county. That is down ballot happening in your
Awesome.
own counties, party leadership. And
Well, and to the people, this is the other point that I wanted to make with a lot of this. And we've kind of talked about this in different pieces, but there are a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, I don't care about this. All I care about is who's getting elected in 2022. And the reason that this matters is because these are the folks that kind of set the tone for the party heading into 2022, right? So they're the ones that are communicating the vision, the platform, the ideas. They're the ones that are setting the overarching message for all of the Republican candidates, right? That theirs all kind of fall into in various ways and with various differences in tone, right? Because they all run their own campaigns as well, right? And then they're the ones that are also working with these candidates to get them elected. And so you want people in there who, as Kim pointed out earlier, they're kind of a CEO who can run a machine that can get this job done and support these candidates in the most meaningful way, be it money, be it messaging, be it whatever, so that we can get the right people into the right positions. And so that's why this matters now, is because this is the setup for the game, for the rest of the game.
it can absolutely impact the elections. So if you care about who's representing you in Congress, in the legislature, in the state board of education, by the way, is now partisan elections. Of course, our statewide offices, governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, auditor, all of those things the outcomes themselves can be affected by the party leadership. So, so we take the organizing year along with the nominating year. One year we do the candidates, the next year we do the organization. So it's the organizing.
Absolutely. All right, I need to pull the ripcord.
Because organizing convention, just right there, just that's a problem. We need to think of a different name than the organizing convention. But it's what we do. Okay.
Yeah, the runway convention. Anyway, I need to go. I can let you guys keep talking because it sounds like Aaron wanted to talk mask mandates and stuff. And you guys can go as long as you want. I'll just make one of you the host. And when you're done, when you're bail out, it'll end the recording.
Well, no, I think we're done. Basically,
Okay.
Salt Lake County decided not to extend their mask mandate, and Salt Lake City did, just in case that affects your, travel or shopping plans in the near future.
Salt Lake City did?
Salt Lake City extended theirs, yeah.
Wow. Why does anyone live there? Really?
to be continued on the next episode.
I just want to say one thing. I went to dinner with someone in Salt Lake City last night who absolutely did not want to go. I don't give my tax dollars to Salt Lake City. Let's just go 4 minutes down the road and eat somewhere else. And she's not wrong.
Yep.
Oh, I know, right?
Agreed.
But Charlie Chow's is not like, what are you going to do? Charlie Chow's.
Yeah. Now, just to be clear, I think I said something about this in a school board meeting, and somebody pointed out that it's not like a full lift statewide of the mask mandate as far as the state goes. It's grade schools, and then gatherings of 50 or more people who can't physically distance are still
Charles,
required through June, right?
You can't say you're leaving and then open that freaking can of worms.
It's a can of worms. We can't.
I'll stay for 5 more minutes. Go for it. Go.
This Grizzly mom is just gonna let loose on it.
Because this stuff drives me nuts.
Look, Charles, here's what you need to understand. One word: science.
Political science?
Science.
Yeah, but the thing, the twisted political hackery science that they call science, or actual science?
Don't question the science, Charles. Yeah, so
that's the part that drives me nuts. It's science.
100% political. Our children are being held hostage in a political power struggle. This has nothing to do with their safety, their family safety, teacher safety. And
in Utah, though?
This is a year later. We now know.
I know.
We now know.
Utah.
But you know what?
Know better.
Here's the thing. Coronavirus has just been so smart and amazing. Coronavirus, all the risk. I mean, coronavirus is not going to be risky in June when school's out.
It's true.
It'll stop being risky. Well, and here's the thing. We
When I'm
know
eating,
the different populations based on age and how likely they are to get coronavirus or spread it or to die. And we know that no teacher or student has died of coronavirus from spread in the classroom this entire time. We know if it happened, we would have heard about it in the news every day for 2 months.
Is that just your neighborhood school, Aaron?
No, everywhere in the state. It just doesn't happen. Kids do not spread coronavirus. Kids don't. And my kids are all in elementary school, and especially elementary school kids. Like if you're going to have to keep it for high school and not for elementary and junior high. It does not spread. It's not a vector of spread. K through 12 education. It's so dumb. I mean, we lift the mandates on the people who actually do spread coronavirus because our numbers are so dang low, and we leave it in place. And you know why we do it? The UEA. And you know why they matter? It's because our governor loves the UEA.
Okay. On Monday, I've already told my kids, you don't have to wear masks to school, and they can send you home.
They're going to get kicked out, yeah.
That is but one, he's got to be a little bit careful. But
civil disobedience.
Somebody needs to tell these kids their justification. So I think a whole lot of teachers need to lose their credentials if they're a science teacher and they are supporting this. But I'll tell you what the emperor with no clothes on looks like. So when we saw the emperor, it says this was never about the children. This has never, ever been about the children. It's a political power struggle with the union and families. And families, we severely outnumber the teachers. We just have a hard way of showing those numbers. But my kids, if they don't want to wear a mask to school Monday, they don't have to. And let somebody tell them why. Like a real reason, not the political reason, not
because it's a rule, Kim.
Because the governor's an idiot.
True.
So I'll tell you what's bad.
Sorry.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to offend anybody, but I learned early as the mom and reading a few books or whatever. It's really not great parenting to say, because I said so. Do it because I said so. It caused me early as a mom to really reason, why I, would require anything of my children and be able to explain it to them. Here's why you need to brush your teeth. Here's why there's a curfew. Nobody can tell a single kid in this state why. So
that is true.
It's a bunch of people wagging their finger at children saying, because we said so. Because we said so.
Well, honestly, it's because they know that we will do it to protect our kids, right? The other adults around, it's like, you know what? They're adults, whatever. But if you start telling me that my kid's in danger, it's a different story. And they get enough people to buy into it and get scared about it that they can push this agenda through on the schools.
So I haven't heard anybody say the kids are in danger for a long time, if ever. There was a question in the beginning. That question was resolved a long time ago.
Yeah.
So there's nobody who can even answer the question, which is a tragedy for children, because I'll tell you, my kids, junior high and high school, they absolutely understand that they're being manipulated. And we're teaching the kids at the same time a good and a bad lesson. I mean, they know they're being manipulated. They can articulate it. My children have articulated it to me, that they're being used and manipulated, and this is this is crazy. And
it's not even brainwashing. My 8-year-old told me that before I said anything to him. He's like, Dad, it seems like they're kind of overreacting about this in terms of us going to school. And I'm like, don't indoctrinate him. Don't indoctrinate him. And I'm like, oh, what makes you say that?
No, and they see the inconsistencies. So when Governor Governor Herbert, when they released the rules that said no sports but football. Every
I know.
that. Every kid in this state. But I'll tell you, I had a smart 16-year-old that read the rules. I printed them up for him, and he walked out, and he's so mad. And he says, "This is crazy." He says, "You know what? This is discriminatory because the football teams have a little bit more political power in a community." Mm-hmm. And he said, "I'm a lacrosse player." And he says, "We tend to not have as much money and as much influence." And he said, it's absolutely ridiculous. Football has more contact than lacrosse, but lacrosse isn't allowed. So when kids see that and they perceive it because, oh, guess what? They're not dumb. They know they're being manipulated. I like the lesson that they're learning, that the government can and will manipulate you, coerce you, lie to you, force you. I like that they're learning it. I hate that they have to.
Okay, Chuck, you got to go.
Yeah, I got a text from my father-in-law saying that his plane has actually landed, and I live 45 minutes from the airport, so I need to take off.
Okay, bye.
Halfway there.
What?
I'll go get him for you. I'm halfway there.
Well, the airport is very large. It'll take him 30 minutes to walk across it.
The way that they do, I haven't flown through the new airport, but my understanding is, because he's flown in and out a few times. Total side note, I'm going to leave this in the podcast, but apparently when they land, they have to taxi for like 10 years. Like last time I had to go pick him up, I was there. It said the plane was on the ground, and I sat there for 45 minutes and waited until he texted me and said, I'm almost to the, walking out to get my bag. And that's when I went. So I'll probably get there about when he's ready to walk out the door, but I do need to go. That said, I really appreciate having these conversations, because we need to elevate these and just help people understand what we're about here and what this is doing. And then, just raise these issues and help people understand, like the mask mandators, things like that. Just help people go, okay, let's think about this and what does it really mean, right? And then we can start to turn it back around and go, okay, so how do we work within the party? How do we work with our candidates? How do we work with the politicians? How do we make these things work out the way that they ought to, based on the truth, based on what's real?
Yep.
So thanks.
And thank you for making time, Kim.
You bet.
I love these conversations. You have a good one.
I'm going to go have a golf party at the convention.
Yep, get your team.
All right.
Calling all golfers.
All right. Catch y'all later.